Shanti sister. So, we had been listening to Moni Didi yesterday and today, and now also we have got the opportunity of question answer session. So, I got few questions, and if you have any questions, please write and give me. Thank you. The first question is, can you share your insights about the intellect? How does it function? What is the meaning of divine intellect, stone intellect, non-judgmental intellect, broad intellect?
What was the third one?
Stone intellect, non-judgmental intellect.
Non-judgmental.
Broad intellect, far-sighted intellect, unlimited intellect, different kinds of intellects.
Yeah. So as Baba says, one of the greatest gifts he gives us is the divine intellect. So the divine intellect is really the intellect that sees truth, sees behind all the illusion, that sees reality. And through Baba's knowledge, we get a broad perspective of what is truth. So our intellect, as Baba says, don't see what you can see, but see what you can't see. The intention, the attitude, So he trains us to develop this divine intellect. But he says, our intellect becomes stone when we... Oh, hello, bird. How did he come in? Our intellect becomes stone when we disobey Srimat, but especially, when we know. It's a very hard thing, when we know something's not right, but we do it anyway. And it's a very big thing. And of course we need to forgive ourselves and come back and get back on track. But if we keep doing it, like sometimes we don't want to know the truth. We don't want to listen to Baba. He says sometimes children take a pledge not to follow Srimat. So that's a very unfortunate state to be in. And we shouldn't judge anyone because everything's destiny, everything's drama, everyone's playing their part. So where is the judgment in that? And it doesn't help at all to judge, and it's very, very hurtful. One great thing in Australia, many BKs who started when I started, back in 1977, we were all very young and mostly in our 20s. So many left Baba. But the wonderful thing is that in Australia there's no judgment of that. So they can easily come back. And now I would say something like 80% are back in contact, not necessarily coming to class, but good relationships, good feelings, and they've come back. And if we had a judgmental mindset, I think they couldn't, because they're already feeling bad. They're already judging themselves. They don't need our judgment as well. So non-judgmental intellect is kind. So it's an intellect that is wise because we understand drama, karma, destiny. It's meant to be. Nothing's a mistake in the drama. So who are we to judge anything? And far-sighted is, like Baba says, trikaldashi, to see the three aspects of time, the past, the present, and the future. So before I do anything, I have to see the future of this action. That's very important. Very important. So, far-sighted, unlimited. Unlimited is a soul-conscious intellect because there's no limit. All the limitations are of bodies. And yesterday I was talking about someone who healed himself of a broken back. But even this is not solid. It's energy. 99.99999% energy. So when we have this unlimited intellect, we don't, we can start to realize these truths that we can't imagine, right? Even I can't understand that fully yet. It still seems like it's solid, but I know according to science and according to all the research, it's not. But I still have to realize it. And if I can, then it's so much easier to heal because we've got a small intellect when we see things, see, touch, feel. This is all gross, but the subtle is amazing.
The second part of the question is, we understand mind creates thoughts and feelings and carries the memories. How do we understand our intellect work according to Baba's wisdom?
Yeah. So when we look at this mind, intellect, subconscious mind, we call sanskars, but subconscious mind. So all of our thoughts, pretty much, as they say, 80% of our thoughts are old. So 80% definitely come from our subconscious. They're just habits, memories, beliefs. So 80% come from the subconscious. But a lot of that is not healthy, not wise, not elevated. It's just habit and sometimes trauma. So then whatever comes into the mind, I need to filter it with the intellect. Use the intellect to think, is this a thought that I should allow to continue, or should I stop it now? Should I change it? Should I rework it? And one of the things that we learn is that, and we realize, I have a choice. I can choose my thoughts. So 80% are those things. But we are being taught, we call this creative meditation, because we are being taught to create thought. I am a peaceful soul. I am a child and a master. I am a master almighty authority. So when I start choosing these thoughts and acting from that awareness, I'm actually moving out of that 80%. So let's see how much I can create in a day. Because when we're creative, we are powerful. When we're creative, we are powerful. When we are reactive, we are weak. We're just like we fail in a way by reacting because it's not our choice to do or say what we're doing. We're reacting not because we want to, because we can't help it. So it's weakness. And if you see nowadays, most people are selfish. Why? Why are most people selfish nowadays? Is it true that most people are selfish?
Yes.
Maybe not in Sri Lanka. But most people in the world are selfish. Why? Because they're in survival. When I'm in survival, I have to think for myself because I feel under threat. So I use ego, I use anger, I use whatever I can to protect myself. That's the opposite of being creative. Survival will always be reactive. But creative is being a master. And it is so powerful. I'll tell you a few stories because you can actually save your life. In a life-threatening situation, we need to be creative. For example, many examples, but let me just, one sister in Japan, I know her, Ms. Wei, somebody came into her apartment, this is when she first started Gyan, with a knife. Because in Japan it was quite safe in those days, you didn't lock your doors. And they just walked in with a knife. And she just said to the person, rather than reacting, she said to this young man, she said, "What are you doing?" She just said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I need money." And she said, "That's not a way to go about it. What would your mother say?" So she just talked to him as a soul, right? As a human being, not as a monster, a dangerous person. And then she just said, "What's the problem? Tell me." So then he started talking to her, and she gave him an apple and he went away, But there's story after story of people being creative. This one lady that told, because I tell the story and I hear many stories. I'm sure you have many stories because you're still here. After all that's gone on in your country, you probably also have stories. But one particular story is this woman said she was sitting on the beach and this man started to talk to her. And he asked her, "Oh, have you seen the mountain? Do you want me to take you to the mountain?" And she said normally she would not go with a strange man, but he had some kind of charisma, some kind of influence. Charisma, it's a way of appealing. And she ended up getting in the car with him. And she could see when they were driving that he wasn't going towards the mountain. And of course, what happens? Survival, and we freeze and we just, when we're afraid, we go into this locked-in state. And of course, he can take her anywhere when she's like that, right? Then she got creative. Somehow she thought of something and she said, "Oh, it's amazing you're driving this way. I've got a friend that lives in this house." Not true. She made it up. She just got this intuition. And she said, "Oh, there's a friend living in this street. Can I stop and say hello?" And because he's pretending to be normal, he stopped and let her go inside. Can you imagine? So she went and knocked on the door. No answer. She thought, uh-oh. So she went to the back of the house and she saw a woman getting in the car with 2 children. And she said to the woman, "I'm in danger. Can I get in your car?" And this woman let her get in the car with the children. I don't know if all mothers would do that. And while the car was going out past this man, this woman driving the car said to the man, "We're just going to drop the children. We'll be back in a minute." All strange how that woman went along with it without even knowing what was going on. But apparently she was married to a policeman. So maybe that's why she had a little bit sense, I don't know. But how did she think of that? So when you talk about intellect, within the intellect, there's intuition. There's a knowing what to do, but in that situation, there's nothing you can do. No knowledge will help you then, really. There's nothing you can do, but intuition will guide you. So she was guided by her intuition to say that. And she saved herself, And she didn't say whether she took her bag or not. Didn't matter, right? If you're in that situation, who cares? You just get out. You look after yourself. I didn't ask her those details, but you just look after yourself. So within the intellect is also the conscience, the little voice that is my voice of truth. So that voice, if we listen to it, it will always guide us in the right way. But sometimes that voice we can't hear it because it's mixed with society, our teachers, our parents, our gurus, all of these things. There's all these voices. So we have to clean out this conscience so we can hear our conscience, not all those other voices. Then we will be very empowered and close to knowing ourselves. That's in short.
So next question is, what happens to someone who is currently unconscious if he unexpectedly leave the body? I think the person is asking, some people, they are in coma for a few months maybe, then suddenly leave the body. So what happened during coma stage? And
apparently when someone's in a coma, they can still hear us. Maybe they don't hear words, but they're still there. So when someone's in a coma, it's very good to speak positively if you're in the room and think positively. Don't have negative thoughts, don't have, waste thoughts, but really keep the atmosphere good for that soul. And sometimes, like my father was in a coma for 20 days, and, my mother, my sisters, they love to sing, so they just kept singing happy songs and singing in that room, and just because that's what, he was also a singer. So you do what you can. Some people chant, some people pray, some, we can send good wishes. But it's really good to keep a very good atmosphere. And some people can come out of that coma. It happens. And if they pass, at least they've passed with those good wishes. And it's kind of not bad to be in a coma. It gives the relatives time to accept and to say goodbye and do all these things. But the story of Didi Manmohini, she was in a coma before she left the body. And Baba said he was fulfilling her last wish because she wasn't in Madhuban when he left the body. So he had her in the subtle regions. He said that. That was very beautiful. So for BKs, we never know what's going on. Anything could be happening. It could be a subtle region experience. We don't know. So just be positive about comas, I think, because we may as well anyway. We can't do anything else except give positive feelings and thoughts.
Sister talked about building up trust in others. So this is a question about trust. When we progress spiritually, others trust us and get inspired. But it is misunderstood as if we are making others close to us. How to deal with this?
Yeah, that's a tricky one because, like this sister in Taiwan, she trusts me, because we've been working together now for 7 years, really. I've been keeping in touch. So, and if they don't have a connection with Baba, even in the Murli today, Baba was saying, bring them, by giving them an experience, they'll come close to you. Okay? That's only the first step. We don't want them to belong to us. We don't want them to be limited to by just being connected with us. Of course we want them. If they're connected to Baba, they will have their own experiences and they can go ahead of us. If they're connected to us, usually they can't go ahead of us. So we are limiting them because they think we are good and we're like, their support. We limit them. So contact souls often connect with us. But BKs should not, sometimes also Didi says, if you have a problem, talk to someone you trust. She never used to say that. She always used to say, talk to the centre in charge. She always used to say that. But later, she started to say, talk to someone you trust. But hopefully the person you trust will be trustworthy and not make you fall further. You know, they will uplift you and bring faith in you and help you to understand and to accept that often it's myself, usually it's myself that's got the problem, not the other person. So Didi allowed in the last few years us to talk to people we trust. But be careful, please be careful. Don't trust people in the wrong way. You know, otherwise we form groups and then we can go off track and they'll only take you down. So who does Baba say to trust? And this comes in the Murli also. Trust someone who follows Srimat. Right? You can trust someone who follows Srimat. Don't put your trust in someone that's not following Srimat because it can't take you towards Srimat. So have trust in someone who follows Srimat. That limits it, right? To who you can have trust in.
Okay, thank you. In Sri Lanka, service is taking place for last maybe more than 35 years. But we are still depending on seniors for retreats, Raki, etc.
For what? We depend on seniors for what?
Retreats, Raki. So many seniors are visiting every year. No, for a year, many seniors we are getting. So this person is asking, that means are we behind than other countries?
Oh, okay. Well, it's interesting you ask that because in Australia, we always invite a senior. But this year, we decided not to. But mainly because we had so many visitors when we had our 50 years anniversary. We had so many visitors. So this year, our local senior sisters are tying Raki. So we're inviting each other to our centres. And we feel good about this because, again, it's building that trust and relationship and kind of giving the honour to the sisters that we've served with for 30, 40 years, you know, so it's really quite beautiful that we are doing it amongst ourselves. So it's not that we can't do it amongst ourselves, but yeah, it's a choice that the centres have, and often we do love to have a senior just because of their yoga and their, you know, we feel seniors are still seniors, you know, there's something to learn.
Okay.
But there's not many, right? There's very few now, very few seniors even to invite.
So the next question is, in a family, only one person is vegetarian. So others bring meat, fish, non-veg items. So how to manage that, what to do, what is your advice?
Yeah, that's a very difficult situation. So if the family is cooperative, of course it's not so hard because you can have, they don't mind, you have your own cooking utensils, you cook for yourself. But there's many different situations. So like if people live near our main centre in Sydney, they can contribute to the kitchen financially with their karma yoga, these two ways, and we let them eat there. But they contribute, you know, financially and also not only financially, because in Australia most people are working. Even the people who look after our centres, look after our kitchens, they're working. So we ask them to contribute something in the terms of karma yoga for the kitchen. So they contribute their time and money and eat from Baba's Bandara. So that's one way we can support if they live close. Otherwise, there might be even a BK family that lives near you that, you know, they're happy to cook for you and you pick it up. there's all different situations that have worked in different centres with different people, but it's really preferable if you can eat, you know, in a kitchen that's vegetarian, if possible. It's good. I mean, we feel it, don't we? It's not that easy sharing a kitchen that's not vegetarian. But it's permissible because we all do our best in our own situation. Maybe you're the mother, everyone else is non-veg. But if you're a mother, Didi would always encourage the mothers to be brave and to be a Shakti and tell the family members, our home will be vegetarian. If you want to eat non-veg, please eat outside. So that's what most of the mothers do. Even Asian mothers, Indian mothers, it's not easy, but, you know, at least that's the domain of the mother, the kitchen. So just like your husband wouldn't let you go to his garage and use his tools, you know, you can also, they can be the master of their own area, but let me be the master of the kitchen. And yeah, sometimes it's challenging, but I know one couple in Philippines, they had 3 teenage children, and the teenage children would not be vegetarian. So the parents moved out, rented a small apartment, and left the children in the house with the domestic helpers. So the children had domestic helpers, and they had the house, and the parents moved into a small condominium. I thought, wow, that's very courageous of the parents. And they kept a good relationship, but they just said, you know, we don't want to share the kitchen. If you can't be vegetarian, you can have the house. We'll go and live nearby, very nearby, but it was brave, and they could afford it.
I think let's have traffic control. Thank you, Maureen.
I just wanted to add the last one. In Philippines and some countries, BKs have a little business of producing food for BKs like that. And in the Philippines, that you can order online from the BKs, you know, other BKs in the Philippines, and they're things that you can, like, you know, just easily add water to. It's kind of like easy cooking for people. So some is fresh, people nearby, they can order. It's like a catering business for BKs. So that also has become a little bit of a thing that's happening in countries.
Thank you, sister. There are a few more questions. The next question is, when I first think about something, the first thought, I don't put it into action usually, but the second thought comes, then only I do. So sometimes this creates problems. So how do I put the first thought into action?
Baba says that if you have a thought and you do it immediately, it's got power. So it's really good if you get an inspiration to do it. That's almost like intuition. It also develops your intuition. If you act on your thoughts and then you see the result, and if it goes well, you know that, you know, your intuition is good, that you're getting inspired, you're getting touchings, you know, so it's good to do that first one. I don't know why you don't do the first one. Why wouldn't you? Maybe you need a little nagging from Baba.
Thank you, sister. It is now almost 90 years past in Confluence age. How far we have reached establishment of Golden Age? What are the true visible transformation take place?
Okay, we've just had 2 retreats, one with 700, one with just 60 people. But when we come together, we were really amazed at the energy that we created together, the very high vibration, the love amongst each other, the joy of being together. It really, both retreats, for me, was like a vision of the Golden Age. You know, we haven't got there yet, but it made me feel we're not far. And then we did a drishti exercise when we're at the retreat in Philippines. And really, it was wonderful being able to see each one and not look at their sanskars. We all have some sanskars, some stuff. But, you know, when we're soul conscious, we can see beyond that. We can see, you know, because actually each one's heart, each one's mind, each one's intention is to be that, to be what Baba wants us to be. So behind our sanskars, there is so much beauty and goodness. And I think more and more we're starting to experience and see that rather than see the sanskars. We're close. We're close.
Yes, next question is about the sanskar transformation. Because Baba used to say, cremate the sanskar. No trace should remain. So what are the special efforts you made to overcome the old sanskars? Any experiment you can share?
Yeah, different experiments for different ones. But one thing that we really need to do is have that quality yoga to burn, you know, our past karmas. If we don't have that quality of yoga, it's very hard to shift things. And we find ourselves in karmic, you know, caught up in a karmic account. And we know it's a karmic account, but we can't get out of it because we don't have that power to, you know, to get out of that. So that's when we know we still aren't having that quality of yoga that can get us out of this karmic account. So we can't blame the other person. We don't blame ourselves, but we really need to increase that fire of yoga. But we also can work on our sanskars. And each one needs a different way of dealing with it. Like when I realized I have so much ego, I was trying to remove my ego, but I became so conscious of my ego that it was increasing. So don't focus on your defects. That's what I learned. Don't focus on that. Focus on the opposite. Focus on the beauty of humility, the beauty of purity, so that I'm focusing that and not on the defect. Because, as they say, where thoughts go, energy flows and life grows. So we can actually feed our sanskars by focusing on them. But we have to find the way to come out of them. Using Baba's knowledge. Like one brother, he's an old BK, and he saw all these new young BKs coming up and taking all the service, and he's sitting back thinking, I'm just an old BK, no one cares about me. And he was a little bit down for a few years, not a little while. And then this point of Gyan came to him, and he realized, Baba says, if you do something without people knowing, you get the fruit of it. If people come to know about it, you're using up your good karma. So he thought of something he can do that can be very helpful and get him blessings that no one should know about. So this is in UK. So he started to pick up the older BKs that could no longer come to the center. So he would pick up these old BKs on one condition: they don't tell anyone how they get there. They weren't allowed to tell anyone how they got there because he didn't want anyone to know it was him. And of course, the blessings he got from these older BKs was so much, and his face totally transformed. He came into happiness, and he used Gyan to change things.
Thank you, sister. Yesterday and today we observed you, and you are very friendly, enthusiastic, and easygoing, tireless. So the question is, you are involving in so many service activities and traveling to many places, countries. So how do you balance yourself and service?
I think one thing is because I've looked after my health. If your health is not good, you can't do much, and you get tired easily. And so maybe I've got a blessing also of good health, but I've also not just taken that for granted. I really try to be attentive to my diet and things like that. So health is one thing. And I love people. That's why I'm friendly. And I've had good parents, I must say. A lot of the times it's our childhood. So both my mother and father are friendly. So I recognize that a lot of the good sanskars I've got are because of them. So I recognize that later in my life, and I really appreciate that they didn't give me any hard time. They modeled so many virtues that, that's easy when you've got the role models in front of you and around you. And then, of course, going from there into Brahman life, and we've got the Daddies, Daddy Janki, the tireless Daddy Janki. Oh, my gosh. You think I'm active? My gosh. So probably, seeing how she is so tireless, and even when she's sick, she can just power herself to get up and go and fly to the other side of the world to give some talk or something. So maybe it's also that, just having that model in front for so many years, that you can't have any excuses. You don't have a limited mindset, because especially Daddy Janki, she didn't have any limit. She had no limit. She would sleep at 11 o'clock. and be up at 3:30, and then after Amrit Vela you think, oh, maybe Daddy should have a rest. She'll be just churning and saying, I'm going to share something today. Listen carefully, because I was taking the notes in the class. Listen carefully. I want you to catch this. And she was so alive. So I think our role models, and especially Daddy Janki in that regard, but also Didi Nirmala was very good, because she always told us, don't make yourself too busy. If you're too busy, it's your fault. She used to tell us, if you're too busy, it's your fault. Don't make yourself so busy. So she taught us that balance. She was a really great teacher. One time, she said to us, just because a VIP is on the phone, it doesn't mean you don't wipe the table, the dining table. She used to teach us like that, very practical, very and balanced, right? Otherwise we can say, oh, I didn't do it because of this, because of that. She was such a good trainer.
Sister, yesterday you said that you had a close relationship with Didi Manmohini and the daddies. So can you share one good experience that you remember now? Personal experience.
I shared some experiences yesterday, but really Daddy Prakash Mani, let me say, was so light. She didn't take anything seriously because she really experienced that she was an instrument. So sometimes we'd be leaving Madhuban. She'd be in a very serious meeting with engineers, and we'd go to just the door and just wave. She would come out and we'd say, Daddy, don't, you're in a very important meeting. She said, they all know what to do. It's okay. They just want me there, but they know what to do. So she modeled how she had trust in others. She really felt this as Baba's task, and she kept herself so light, and she didn't take her role seriously. She just tried to satisfy everyone, but she didn't think, I'm so-and-so. And now Janti Ben is like that. We asked Janti Ben, now you're the head of the Brahmakumaris. It's so big, together with Didi Mohini. You're the head of the Brahmakumaris. How do you manage? You know what she said? I don't take it seriously. She said, I don't take it seriously. And she looks like that, And even Mohini Didi, she said, a big problem comes. She was sharing with us. A big problem comes, somebody talks to me, and it might be at night. I just sleep in Baba's remembrance. I get up, I have my Amrit Vela, and it becomes clear what to do. She doesn't think it's her situation, that she has to do something. She waits and she invokes Baba's guidance. So things like this, even our great seniors now are doing this. But Didi Manmohini, I was sharing that the sisters in India used to be scared of her because she was called the controller. She was very disciplined and kept everyone very disciplined, which is great because it really keeps a powerful atmosphere when everyone is disciplined. So she had this. But for the double foreigners, she was always very funny. So she always did funny things. And I'll just share the funny story I shared with the Kumaris yesterday was that we used to go for a walk every day after lunch to Naki Lake. So they were still young and active. They was in their 60s, I guess, maybe 60s. And so we used to go for a walk after lunch. And there used to be maybe 10 people. I don't know why some didn't come. But when we walked to the lake, there was a hole in the rock, and we used to pick up stones and try and get it through the hole. That was the game we played on the way to the lake. So one day as I was walking along, I felt something hit in my back, and I thought, what's that? And I caught Didi Manmohini throwing rocks at my back. like this. This is Didi Manmohini, the one that they're scared of. She was too funny. And then when I caught her, she held out her hand with so much love, and I came to take her hand. She grabbed my hand and threw me. She still kept doing naughty things, and she just threw me like this. And she was so naughty, so naughty. She was really very funny and very affectionate and cosmic, really very cosmic. Like one time, Daddy Janki asked me to go on a tour with Didi Manmohini, but I just moved to Hong Kong, and I had no students really, and I felt I needed to fill myself with power in Madhuban. I felt honoured to be asked, but when you go on tour with the Daddies, it's very hectic, and sometimes you don't know what's going to happen. So I thought, if I'm being honest to myself, I need to make my stage strong to go and do this service in Hong Kong. So I said to Daddy, do you mind if I don't go with Didi? Because I'm thinking I need to work on my stage here. And Daddy said, Daddy Janki said, if you don't want to go, don't go. Then I felt so bad. And I said, no, I'll go. I'm not saying I won't go. I'm just asking, should I go? And she said, if you don't want to go, don't go. And she wouldn't talk to me. Sometimes she was like that. And then I went to Didi Manmohini because I was supposed to go with her. And I told her, Didi, I said to Daddy Janki that, I think I need to stay here. And she just stroked my face. She said, in every star, there's a whole world. You follow your own star. Like you decide, but very beautiful, very light. So then I felt okay. So she was very cosmic in the way she was, she saw beyond, I would say. She also saw beyond. But Daddy Janki's not wrong, but...
Thank you, sister. Last question. So Sister Kalyani shared this morning before the welcome program about your first visit to Sri Lanka. It is many, many years ago. And now you see the results, how Baba serviced the garden, so very beautiful flowers all over Sri Lanka. So what was the feeling that time and how do you feel now?
Oh, of course. As I was saying before, when there was just 3, it was very wonderful because Sister Shrima had so much courage and Sister Rani had so much enthusiasm. It was unbelievable. She was tireless. Even then, she wasn't young. She worked so hard for Baba. She would just keep doing something to increase service. So it had a good seed, I would say, because Shrima Ben was a very sincere Baba's child. She just wanted to do what Baba wants, she was so beautiful. And so then I came back when Sister Janaki was here, and there was 30 BKs. She also played a good part here. And then I came back when Brother Jiga was here, and there was 300 here, and now there's 3,000 here. I told the brothers, I'll come back when there's 3,000. Now there's almost 3,000, so I'm very happy. But really the garden's growing so well, so very wonderfully. And and as I said, you've got one of the most beautiful classrooms in the world with an ocean view. Even 5-star hotels, you don't get this ocean view. So it's really Baba's fortune that he's providing for you, right? He's giving all of this for us. And so it's wonderful to see all of you. And I heard, there's like 400 BKs just in Colombo. So we can really feel that we can have a big impact, especially when we connect on the thought level. I'm sure many were on the Zoom this morning as well. So, we're all connecting on thought level. So, yeah, I think you have to be the ones that Baba said today will start this sound of he's come, he's here. Because, I mean, South India as well, but Sri Lanka, there's a very great Shiva worship, right? Mostly, more than Krishna, Lakshmi, Narayan, it's Shiva, right? So the memorial is here, and the conquering of Ravan was done here. So I think you have a very great potential for leading the rest of the world. Yeah. So it's great to be here, and thank you. I'm leaving this afternoon to go and see the retreat center for the Buddhist retreat we're having. That's been amazing. We have guests who from a Buddhist background from, I think, 8 countries. And they're not monks or nuns. They're mostly professors, business people. Mostly professors. And it's really a good group, and they joined this retreat with a lot of enthusiasm. So it's the first one, the first retreat for people from a Buddhist background. We've done for Muslims, but this is the first one that we're having for people from a Buddhist background. So because Sri Lanka, I read, is like 70% Buddhist, it's very good to do this. And also because there's been past conflict, I think it's healing. There's a lot of subtle things, I think, in this retreat. And it was Sister Rami's thought, and we thought to have it in Thailand, but we ended up here. So we have 60 guests staying at the hotel, and Sister Rami has another 40 that are not staying, 50 actually, not staying at the hotel, that will come, stay outside and come. So give us good wishes, because new service, and it started from Sri Lanka. Next year maybe we'll have it in another country, we'll see. But it started here. So Sri Lanka is the seed of this special service. And I was a Buddhist before being a BK. So I've studied Buddhism a lot because I was in Asia, serving in Asia for over 30 years. So when I was asked to coordinate this, I'm so happy, because I have an affinity, a very close affinity with Buddhism. I went to an interfaith retreat, and it was all Buddhists, nearly all Buddhists. And I was friends with all the Buddhists, so they called me Buddha's daughter. I was so happy, I'm Buddha's daughter. I was dressed like this, but they called me Buddha's daughter, because Buddha's also son of Baba, right? And he's from the Vedic times. He's not too different from what we practice, so it's good. So thank you for being here and joining today, and I look forward to seeing you when you're, what's after 3,000? 30,000. Will I come again when you're 30,000? I think. That won't be long. 30,000. Why not? Why not? Yes. Om Shanti.
Thank you so much, sister. So we had a good time with you yesterday and today. So let's have a few minutes of meditation, and then you will have your lunch. Om Shanti.